This just in, the Diablos and Narga meta that we've been used to for so long is finally dead. But what could possibly replace them? That's right, the DPS Lance. With a total attack value of 238 after the Attack Boost 3 Rampage, this Lance just blows Diablos and Narga's damage out of the water. While the DPS Lance does have 20 less raw than the Diablo's Spear, it more than makes up for this with white sharpness and an additional 15% affinity. Narga, on the other hand, loses its slot as the only meta white sharpness lance and just cannot compete with the sheer raw damage of the DPS Lance. So without further ado, let's get into what you're really here for, which is the builds. I've included 3 different builds in this video, each with the potential to be the number one in certain situations. Take a look at all 3 and decide which one suits your playstyle best. The first build I refer to as the standard build, as this is going to be your general use or all-around build. It doesn't have too many specific situations which you need to trigger in order to get that number one damage spot, and it's fairly comfortable to use. You can check out the armor I'm using on screen now, obviously using the DPS Lance, but we're running Kaiser Crown, Kadachi Mail, Valstrax Braces, Anjanath Waist, and Ingot Greaves. The talisman I'm using here is going to be the same for all the builds. The first 2 can be done with only a level 2 slot, but the third needs that level 3 slot. The level 1 slot is just bonus. For our skills, we're running Crit Eye 7, Attack Boost 4, Crit Boost 3, Weakness Exploit 3, Speed Sharpening level 3, and Protective Polish level 2 to maintain white sharpness. We also get a bonus of Mind's Eye level 1 from the Tobi Kadachi chest, and Dragonheart from the Valstrax Braces. We're running 1 point in Flinch Free, and we get an additional 2 points in Defense Boost from the extra slots. Now for the damage calculation, I'm not going to go over everything, but it will be on screen, so if you want to check out those damage calculations, feel free to pause as necessary. The first thing I noticed about this build is it's very consistent with its affinity hits. It won't hit the same damage numbers as the other 2 builds have potential to, but consistently you are hitting those affinity strikes way more often, and the damage output is far less random. After running all the calculations, we end up with an EFR over 465. That is a huge boost over what we were using in 2.0 with the Diablo Spear, which only comes in at 444. The second build is fairly simple to make. It takes advantage of Dragonheart, the new skill introduced with the Valstrax armor set, and we're going to be using a full set of Valstrax to do that. For maximum damage potential, we're basically just going to slot in Attack Boost. I am running the same talisman I was running with the other builds for Protective Polish 2 with a 3 and a 1 slot, but everything else is essentially going into Attack Boost with a couple additional points into Speed Sharpening just for a little bit better sharpness management. Again, we do reserve 1 single slot point for Flinch Free, because that is going to be necessary on any Lance build in multiplayer. For the skills, we end up with Attack Boost 6, Dragonheart 5, Resentment level 3, Resuscitate level 3, Weakness Exploit level 3, Speed Sharpening level 3, and Protective Polish level 2, again to maintain white sharpness, and Flinch Free level 1. Again, all the calculations for the damage on this build are going to be shown on screen, so feel free to pause as necessary if you are confused about anything. And if you need any more info, feel free to comment below and I can guide you through how the process was done. After all the calculations are finished, we end up with a total EFR of 467.9 or 489.5 if we have Resentment active. This does barely beat the standard Dragonheart Lance build, but keep in mind that this is situational, as you need to have your HP below 80% to maintain this number. Our third build was included by popular demand, and it is a counter guard build using guard 3 and offensive guard 3. We'll be running the armor on screen, but this is a very specific set to be used with a protective polish 2 talisman with a level 3 slot. While the other two builds on the list can be built with a protective polish level 2 and a level 2 slot, this one cannot. So we're going to be running the Baroth Helm, Diablo's Chest, Valstrax Arms, Basil Goose Waist, and Ingot Greaves. Adding in offensive guard and guard level 3 does make us have to remove 5 points from critical eye and 1 from critical boost. This is the optimum damage potential using those 4 points, as critical eye level 3, crit boost level 1 will do less damage. For our damage calculation, I'm going to be doing a separate calculation for non-offensive guard as well as when offensive guard is active. This build is a little bit more comfortable than the other two on the list, as you won't be taking as much chip damage or knockback with the guard 3 skill. However, you will be taking quite a bit of a damage loss for adding that in, so you'll have to decide for yourself whether you think it's worth it for you. After everything is said and done, we're going to end up with an EFR of 414 without offensive guard and 472 with offensive guard active. If you can't maintain offensive guard for at least 88% of the fight, you will be losing out to the other two builds damage-wise. Well, that's going to do it for this video on the 3.0 Lance meta sets. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you liked the content, and join me live at twitch.tv/eternalhazard for more content.